Hi everyone, this is audap. Let's check out Darius Cozmic Collection Arcade on Nintendo Switch. Now the only way previously that you could purchase this collection was a physical medium, available only in Japan. There was a fair amount of controversy, of course, over this game's release because the game, well, let's just say the pricing model is different. So you could purchase the standard Cozmic Collection for the standard price of $59.99, which included some mix of the arcade and home versions of the game. But you could also purchase the Collector's Edition, which included additional games for $199.99. So these are premium titles, and the collector's editions and the physical mediums are premium games. They included a lot of bonus material, physical bonus material, a lot of information about the games as well. But for most people, these games were out of reach, really because, number one, the region that they were sold in, and with trade being what it is, it's very difficult to get games in and out. And also the price point, well, it is made, again, for collectors. Thankfully, what has happened now is the game is now available on the eShop, so you can purchase this game digitally, finally. However, the pricing model is still not good. So you can purchase the console edition, where they break up the Darius games that were released only for the consoles, for $59.99. And separately, you can purchase the game we're going to cover here, which is Darius Cozmic Collection Arcade, which is all of the arcade versions that were available in the special edition for $44.99. So unfortunately, if you want both titles, you're going to be spending $105 or $106 for both games. Now, I've done that to help ease the pain from you folks. It's painful for me, but this is my second favorite 2D side-scrolling series, with the first being Gradius. So I know that the pricing is bad. I totally understand that. I think the argument from TAITO is that, you know, there's not a lot of profit in shoot-'em-ups anymore, and people expect shoot-'em-ups to be at a much lower price point, you know, because they're used to lower price points on the mobile devices, which is where a good majority of the 2D shmups live now, and on PC, where the price point's very, very low. So there's no profit in it, and the only way to really make it a profitable venture would be to make it a deluxe collector's edition, where, you know, the few fans out there would be able to support the title. So I don't necessarily agree with that philosophy, but I understand from a business point of view that these games really don't make money, and the only way to make them money is to attach a premium price to them for the few people that are willing to pay that money and appreciate the historic value of the games. With that being said, I'll actually cover both versions of the game. I'll cover the games in their entirety, if I have the skill level at least. So there'll be multiple parts to this, I would imagine. It might be running a little long, because the games are pretty meaty. But let's start with the arcade version, because these have the titles that were available in, or the more rare titles that were available in the Cozmic Collection. So let's check it out. The physical collection, though. You know what I mean. Alright, so we have the old version of Darius. That's from 1986. I think this is the version that I played in the arcades way back in the day. This is the new version in 87, which I don't think I ever saw. And then we have the extra version. Darius 2, the dual screen version. SAGAIA, which is also still Darius 2. And there's version 2. Darius Gaiden, which a lot of people are familiar with on the Saturn, but this is the arcade version again. But the Saturn version was very, very accurate. Okay, and we can look at the game manuals. which are available in the HTML format. So they're kind of convenient to scroll. And obviously the manuals are still in the native language. They're still in Japanese. They did not translate the manuals. Which is why I imagine that there wasn't a translated version for English-speaking audiences. I think, given the price point of the game and the expense of doing the translations and the printing, probably they felt that there was no good profit to be made. But they're probably right. I'm still in the middle of learning Japanese, but only in the speaking portion. The written portion, I think that will take a couple years. So I can't read this either. Alright, so let's start all the way at the very top. This is the original version. I think this is the one that I am probably the most familiar with. So this is the arcade version, announced in 1986. A side-scrolling shooter announced in 1986 and released in 1987. A revolutionary cabinet at the time made quite the impression, combining a 3-screen setup with bass speakers embedded inside the bench seat. Likewise, its iconic cast of colorful boss characters based on sea creatures such as the coelacanth and the sperm whale remain popular to this day. Alright, so we have normal mode and training mode. What is this? Training mode. Practice mode, where zone and power-up levels can be set freely. Scrolls will not be saved. Oh, let's do the normal mode. I would say not only is this series well remembered for its unique setup, which was the deep 3-screen game, but it also is known, well for its music, which was TAITO's own in-house band. So let's see if we have any additional options here. I think we'll increase our stock of lives, though. Oh, I guess we'll just have to mention it. Let's see. We can do pixel perfect. We can fit the screen. We can do full screen. Oh boy, that looks terrible. I'm assuming it just does a little bit of stretch on fit the screen. Let's do fit the screen. We'll turn the smoothing on, that way it will more closely match the CRT display. But we'll leave the scan lines off. Let's go ahead and turn the backgrounds off as well. And then you can turn on the screen boundary, and because in the arcade game, it was a 3-screen game, but you could actually see the physical screens as they sat next to each other, so there's a little line in between all the screens. You can even do that if you're really hardcore, but to me that's just a product of the physical limitations of the screen setup. I don't think anybody really ever intended you to be able to see that, and if they could have done that in a way back then, efficiently and with a good financial not impact them financially too much, I think they probably would have made it so that it was one screen. But it was what it was at the time. I think we will leave that as it is there. And of course, you do have quick save and quick load, so that's nice. Let's give ourselves some credits. I don't remember if this stopped allowing continues at a certain point. I think this might have been the version that because I remember spending a lot of money in the Nickel Arcade for this, and then just not even be able to finish because it just wouldn't let you continue after a certain point. But let's see what happens. Zentada. It's a good way to start. And I think not only was the game really amazing because of its 3-screen presentation, but the graphics themselves are really, really sharp. They have a pretty unique look to them. I think this game is one of the times that I really noticed game music. Like I said, the presentation of this arcade unit was pretty spectacular, and the sound in this particular game, they always turned up the sound really loud. So it was a standout game in the arcades for lots and lots of reasons. I don't know what I hit there. I think I hit quick save. And the game I think is perfectly balanced. It's just challenging enough. Ah, I missed the shield. Oh, so tough. Alright. I'm going to tell my thumb is about to die here. Let us... let's see, I think they have a... rapid... Oh, they do have a rapid missile bomb. Okay, so that's the A button. Alright. Let's do that. In this game, the fire button and the missile button are two separate buttons in the arcade setup, so thankfully there's already a pre-made scene. Or setup for the rapid fire and missile with just one button. Wow, that is a low missile rapid 5 shots per second. That's rapid? Oh, here's 20 shots per second with the X button. Yeah, interesting. Okay. Yeah, another game series that shared this setup was Ninja Warriors. Look how clean those graphics are. I mean, they're still beautiful now. Let's see, I think the easier path was the top path. Boy, the rumble's going crazy. My goodness. Oh no, the bottom path is easier. Oh, holy crap, this is much harder. Although I think you can power up your ship easier because there's more power-up orbs. That was the bummer about this power-up system is that, you know, your ship slowly powers up as you collect power-up orbs, but the only way to retain power-up orbs is to collect a full bar, and you usually die before you collect a full bar, so you're always in this constant state of, you know, starting over on your power-up levels. They did change that as later games in the series, so that you could retain the power-ups. But this first game, you know, they're pretty cruel. Oh, electric fan B. It was funnier when you played the lower level, because then it'd be called Electric Fancy. I think what struck out the most for me for these games' graphics for the arcade unit was that each pixel was colored in. A lot of times in arcade games and home games, in order to save space, they would graphic sort bits would always be or often be filled in with every other pixel. So every other pixel had graphic information. So that would make things look not quite solid looking. You know, you could sort of see that they weren't, you know, solid fits of color. But Darius, each pixel is actually filled in. How do I pick? Oh, that's my save slot. Okay. I was like, what is this? Oh, it doesn't allow continuing. Well, that's going to be hard. Okay. In that case, let's... well, hold on. I guess we'll leave this as defaults. And I'll cover the other games, and then I'll release some additional parts of the game so that we cover each game individually. But for now, let's just take a look at all the games as a whole. And then let's cover the new version. In the old version of Darius, when the Silverhawk's missiles are upgraded to either the laser or wave weapons, each boss's life increases. However, in this version, the game has been rebalanced such that boss fights are easier when the Silverhawk has been powered up. Oh wow, there are gigantic assholes in the original version. My goodness. Yeah, I definitely played the old version. That shit was hard. You know, I lost many a quarter to that game. And certainly a boatload of nickels. Captain Neo. Huh, I never knew the titles of these songs. And you can hear that the game is actually in full stereo as well. Although the music itself is mono, you know, the ship sounds, you know, the bullets and where your ship's located, that has full panic stereo. I do wish they would have got the music to stereo as well, but maybe there's some limitation to that. See, if you push forward a little bit, your missiles actually go kind of a little farther. They aren't in a static location, basically. So that way you can sort of shoot the missile ahead of you a little bit for those enemies that are in those tight canyons. It reminds me of Scramble in that sense, since it allows you to do that. Boy, Scramble, I'm gonna tell you. I mean, it's available as arcade archives too, but I should play that in the arcade. So old I am. Oh wait, no, I think I actually played that in a supermarket. Scramble. Back when supermarkets had arcade machines. It's such a weird thing to think about. Yeah, but mom and dad would go shopping and you'd leave your kid playing an arcade game. You know, back then the danger to children was lower, or at least we perceived it to be lower. There weren't as many stories of children being abducted back in those days. And I don't know if there were just less abductions or you just didn't hear about it as much. I mean, when people reflect about how the old days were better, they sort of forget that news wasn't as good in the old days as well. That's sort of like somebody from like the 1800s saying how life was so much better, you know, even though you only lived to, you know, you're 40 and you know, rashed with disease and extreme poverty. Although that really hasn't changed much. But only because you didn't hear about a lot of murder, you probably didn't think that murder was a problem. But murder was a huge problem in the 1800s. Yeah, this one's not as hard to navigate because you're not having to worry about hitting the background elements as much. That's right, I have to actually gather these before they go off screen. There's no ceiling for these things to bounce off of the power-ups, at least. Ah, it's one of my favorite songs. I really love this. I love this game and the series and the music, which is why I'm kind of willing to pay the higher price for this. But like I said, I totally understand that if you find the price unreasonable, you know, it is unreasonable. I agree, but I also agree that these games would not sell, and the lower price point would just mean that there would be no profit in them. You know, I mean, let's really be honest about it. That's just going to be the case for these older games, especially since it's in a genre which is dead. You know, the shmup is dead, or the shmup as we know it is dead. And really, for people who want shooters, that's really the first-person shooter that people want. And I like those games too, so I don't want to, you know, rag on a first-person shooter. I love playing first-person shooters, but I really do miss, you know, what we used to call a shooter, which was this genre. This was the genre we called a shooter when I was growing up. And like today's shooter, there's a rash of those kind of games, which is why the genre died. I don't think the first-person shooter will die like the 2D shoot-'em-up shooter, but I think the renaissance of the first-person shooters is basically over. We'll see. I don't know. I mean, maybe the new consoles will change that a bit. It's sort of hard to say. But we haven't seen innovation in shooters for a long time, and really the last innovation that we've seen is the Battle Royale, which actually really isn't even an innovation, because Battle Royales were very common in the PC. But we are seeing Battle Royales on the console, which, of course, consoles are more popular than PC games. Not that people aren't playing on PC. I'm certainly play a lot of games on PC as well. But, you know, let's just face the facts. There's more people play console games. And if you're a crappy addict like me, then you play console and PC games, and you're completely overwhelmed with how to play all of these great titles that have been released. You know, it used to be that titles just weren't released very often, because the audience was limited and the resources needed to create a game were unattainable without having a big company behind you. But now you can make games at home on very inexpensive equipment. So that's changed the game for development quite a bit. You know, you have a single person making a game, which can be incredibly addicting, and maybe even more so than a game made by thousands of people. Yeah, and it's one of my least favorite songs. It's basically like Zantada jazz. It seems like super random. Oh, so much stuff. So much. Thankfully, I've collected enough power-ups to at least maintain the power-up level. Although it was nice having that triple pea shooter. But it's also nice having the laser which can go through objects, or go through other enemies, I should say. Those power-ups, damn it. Dual shields. I do wish they could have managed to animate those backgrounds. Would have been really cool looking. But it also might have been distracting too. I said the game's still amazing looking, just because the bitmaps they aren't colored with every other pixel. That's what really makes them so stunning. Oh, holy crap. That's so tough. Oh, my goodness. Oh, just call me Ob. I'm the Sob's cousin. Okay, let me just change the titles. I didn't realize that I'd be playing so many of these. Or that I would suck so bad at this. I mean, it's been forever since I played this game. And for me, it's really, really exciting to be able to play the original Darius, because the original Darius while it was ported to home consoles, it was ported to home consoles in Japan. And so I don't think we ever really got a version in North America during its heyday. I'm trying to remember if there was a North American release with a collection of these games. I'm kind of drawing a blank, though. Okay, the extra version. A version of Darius with greatly altered enemy health and enemy placement. And enhancements were added to make the game easier to play. Well, thank goodness. Including making the laser even more powerful in the new version. However, the difficulty of stages in the latter half of the game have been rebalanced under the assumption that players will arrive at them with the Silverhawk in an upgraded state. Okay, so it starts off easier, then it's just as hard as it ever was. Well, wonderful! Well, we will see like 3 stages for me then. Oh, yeah, so to answer your question, there are, you may have missed it when I first was talking about these games. So the Darius collection is actually 2 separate games. There's the console version, which has all the console versions from the Cozmic Collection, and this version, which is the arcade version, which has all the arcade versions. So they're 2 separate titles. And yes, they are expensive. Much like the physical edition of these games, the price point is not reasonable. With the arcade versions of these games being $44.99 and the console version of these games being $59.99. So prepare to have your wallet lightened. That's okay. You know, I like ramen. I guess that's what I'll be eating for the next couple days. But right now I'm just going to cover the arcade versions, and then after we've taken a look at all the arcade versions, then I will cover the console version as well. Then I'll have separate videos for each individual game, because I obviously will not get to the end of these games without quite a bit of practice. They're very, very difficult games. I know one of you elitists out there is going to say they aren't that hard, but yes, I'm sure they're not for you, but they are for me. And like I said, this unfortunately in the North America, I don't believe they're offering the physical edition. So this is pretty much the only way to get it is to get it digitally through the eShop. If you're in North America, I think the game is still, at least the regular Cozmic edition is still available physically. It is a limited print though, but I think the deluxe edition, the collector's edition, the one that's $200, I don't think it's available anymore. Except from other collectors, aka scalpers, because all the real collectors are keeping the game and probably not even opening them. They probably bought 2, one to play and one to collect. So not only was the game expensive at retail, I think the price of getting one now is certainly beyond what I think is reasonable for most people. Me as well. I mean, I'm willing to spend quite a bit of coin on games, but not that much. Oh, so you own the collection already? Okay. Well, this is not new to you then. But for someone like me who didn't purchase the physical edition, this is exciting, even though it is expensive. like I said, I played these games in the arcade. Well, I played the original version of Darius in the arcade, and then I never saw these updated versions. And SAGAIA or Darius 2, I don't think my local arcades ever carried that game. There's a very, very expensive cabinet, just like the original Darius, and I don't know if arcade gamers or if arcades actually made money with the arcade cabinet, which is maybe why we never saw it. I never saw it locally in my area, at least. I think I owned the console version of SAGAIA on Sega Genesis, I believe, which was okay. I mean, it's good, but I actually do prefer the original Darius more than I do SAGAIA. Oh, poor crap. I am not going to get far. But that may be because I never got to experience the arcade version in my area. Maybe I'd prefer SAGAIA if I played it back in the day. Of course, there's a really good version of Darius on Steam. The name escapes me, but I played that quite a bit too. Oh my goodness. Well, this may be rebalanced, but that doesn't increase my skill level. It just means the game itself is rebalanced. Haha, Jesus. At least this version lets you continue in game, but we won't continue. We'll go ahead and we'll check out the other versions. Yeah, to me this is good to have the digital version. As I said previously, it was only available physically. That way, you know, you can keep your collector's edition nice and crisp. I don't know anybody who would actually open it or even sell it. I think you would have to pry it away from me. I mean, I'd probably have them buried with me. but I do love the series. You know, I've been a fan since, you know, '87. Okay, let's see what we have left to look at. I mean, I feel that although the price is high, it is worth it because the games are so high quality and there's a lot of different versions. And this is really the only way to experience it without buying PCB boards. You know, and one Darius, one PCB board, I think if it's still even working, I think the board is like $600. So if you really want to be authentic, you're going to be dropping some coin. Okay, so this is Darius 2, the two-screen version. The second installment of the Darius series, released in 1989. It was initially available as a two-screen cabinet before a three-screen version was later released, allowing cabinets containing Darius and the Ninja Warriors to be upgraded to it. New to this entry is the ability to change the orientation of the Silverhawk left or right during boss battles. Oh, that's right, I forgot about that. The ship's offensive capabilities have also been greatly improved, as have those of the bosses, which additionally sport new attack patterns as well. Alright, check it out. Of course, I'm like everybody else, and I absolutely love the first song. Let's see. Oh, the options are different. Let's take a look here real fast then. Let's fit to screen. We'll turn the smoothing on, and we'll turn off the background. I do wish there was a pure black background available, but I think they do that to prevent burn-in. So that sets like mine, which are prone to burn-in, don't have that problem. Oh, there's still a background. What, did I not do it right? Or is that... Oh, no, there we go. I'll turn the screen boundary off. There we go. Much better. What was the line? It was something about sashimi? Oh my god. It's so big. I like the characters are so big compared to Darius 1. But it's a 2-screen version. You know, the 3-screen version obviously would have been the same size as the original Darius. Tuna sashimi, that's right. I don't know, is the first song in this game better than the first song in the original Darius? Man, it's really hard. The tuna sashimi really makes it win. You know? If it wasn't for tuna sashimi, I don't know. I think I might like the first song better. Oh yes, the poor Genesis. It had there was no K version. But man, the sound took a nosedive on that version. And Sasha on the Genesis was actually a very limited print too. I think since so few people experienced the arcade game, it wasn't very popular. And so it's actually one of the more expensive titles on the Genesis if you collect physical Genesis games. And generally, Genesis games are not as expensive as like a Super Nintendo or original Nintendo. Let's go with the lower path. Wait a minute. Couldn't I flip my ship? How do you flip your ship? Oh, no, it flips automatically. That's right. They don't do the manual flip ship till later games. Ah, there's so much stuff on the screen. I don't need to see all this stuff. I can't turn it off. So these guys, backgrounds are off. I mean, technically, you would have seen all these as decals on the arcade cabinet, but it's not like I was looking at them when I was playing a game. That son of a bitch. Oh, oh boy. Yeah, sorry if I'm not talking a lot. It takes a lot of concentration to play this game. So, and even though I'm not playing the game well, this is as good as I get, even even when I'm concentrating. You probably don't want to hear my voice anyway. You want to listen to that awesome Zentata music. There is a separate music player too, which is really nice. I said Zentata is very, very, very iconic. The little Yamaha sounds are they're buried in my brain. So, at least for me, I don't know don't know if other people think that it sounds cheesy or corny or anything. Ah, that's right, G Darius. Okay, so Sasha version 1. A separate version of Darius 2 released overseas as an upright two-screen cabinet. Overseas, I never saw it. In order to make gameplay cycles unfold faster in foreign markets, the stages were shortened from the domestic Japanese release, and the difficulty level was also raised. So they made the level shorter but harder. Okay, I'll leave that alone. Boss health has also been reduced, while some bosses and zone routes have been removed from the gameplay entirely. Oh, God. So it's like the studio cut of a film, whereas the original release was the director's cut. I guess they felt we were too impatient, American audiences. Oh, it's nice to have the text translated. Not that you can read that fast. Or I can't. Alright, let's check it out. Oh, we're starting here? Oh, that's interesting. I do too, girl. You and me both. Can't even go out to get it anymore. Oh well, what I didn't spend on sushi, I'm spending on games. So I'm still broke. Moral of the story. What? Holy crap, that is short. Wow. That is a huge difference. Oh, you don't get to select your zone either? Oh, this isn't even Darius. Wow, I had no idea. Even as a kid, I would have been like, they really screwed Darius up. Oh, such a cool explosion. Ah, son of a bitch. A huge battleship. Code number... What? Wait, what? Yazuka. Oh, God. Boy, you miss a lot, only being on the two-screen version. I mean, it's nowhere near as impressive, the two-screen version. Okay, so you do get to pick zones. Okay, I was like, what? Oh, wow. That was a short-ass map. Huh, interesting. I mean, I guess I am seeing more of the game with it being so much shorter. Whereas I'd have to work a lot harder if I was playing the original release. And considering it's an arcade game, I guess, you know, not like I'm taking this home with me. Certainly back in these days. Damn. Yeah, wow. I don't know how I feel about that version. Unless it feels like a studio cut. I would rather play the director's cut, the original Darius 2. But maybe as an arcade player, I would have liked it the shorter version. I don't know. All right, let's take a look here. Version 2. A separate version of Darius 2 released overseas as an upright 2-screen cabinet in order to make gameplay cycles and... Oh, so this is the same. See, this second version was hardly available on the market, possibly not even at all. Let's see. Boss health has also been reduced, while some boss and zone routes have been removed. Oh, okay. I wonder what the difference is. I guess we'll find out. I might not be able to recognize the difference either. I mean, especially since it's such a rare release. Oh, we're starting back in the ruined city. Huh. It's cool that the bosses from the first game appear as mini bosses in this game. And there's a lot more parallax scrolling in this game. Ah. Okay, that's great. Let me have that one. God, it's so short. It's so crazy they made it that short. I don't know, the clouds look like intestines. But no, it's not life force. Ah, damn it. try the upper path this time around. That way. So they sort of shifted the order of the levels, so yeah, that's interesting. Damn it. Well, they made it shorter, but not easier. I asked the data ranking server. I don't know why they bother with my scores. Don't even check. I'm not gonna be anywhere on there. At least not yet. Someday I think I'll get there. Okay, what we got left? Oh, and now we're at Darius Gaiden, the third entry in the Darius series, appearing in arcades in 1994. Despite that, it was actually the series' first foray in single-screen gameplay, allowing it to be installed in standard cabinets and subsequently be available to play at a wider variety of locations compared to its predecessors. Its striking visuals caught people's attention at the time, employing semi-transparent effects and parallax scrolling. New to the series is the ability to capture mini-bosses, as well as the black hole bomb that the Silverhawk can deploy to devastating effect. Alright, so this is the last game in the arcade series, and then I'll take a little break, and then we'll go into the Darius Collection console series. Ah yes, I own this on my Saturn. I played a lot of this game. Even though I didn't like it as much as I liked the original Darius, I still liked it quite a bit. It had that weird opera soundtrack. That's right. I think the text scrolls really fast, if I remember right. I didn't have time to read it. Rocco and Tiet started on a journey for a new world. I started late, okay, so that was my fault. Someone destroyed the strong point of the migration on Darius. Also, the transport ships being to go home are the Demon's Hand reaches Vadis. Okay, so it's not in English, really. The characters look like they're English, but they're not English. Very Macross feeling there. Company Silverhawks were almost all annihilated. Well, the text was annihilated. Alright. God, it's so different looking. Well, you know, it was the initial age of 3D, you know, so. Arcade games definitely took a different turn during this, you know, period in arcade history. I think the arcade industry was still pretty strong back in these days. It's not darn it, destroyed it. I guess I should have used only missiles. Yeah, it's cool transitions. Well, the game is actually aged pretty well. It still looks really good. It's a little chunky, but you know, nowadays we purposely make these games look chunky because we're morons. It's kind of a cool effect. It's that I mean, they're still bitmaps, but they're trying to give it a polygon look to it, you know. Go to the sea. The sea! I'd actually get a little farther in this, since the game is... at least it starts off a little easier. It does get pretty challenging later. Here I was saying it was easier, but I probably would have already died already if it was one of the other games. There we go. Ah. Not paying attention. Alright, well, I really haven't gotten any farther than I have in the other games. It does feel quite a bit different than the previous two games. But that's okay, you know, games should evolve a little bit. You know, different, but, you know, still, the essence of Darius is still there. How fast that goes. Alright, so why don't we stop it there? This is audapostrophe, and you've been watching the Darius Cozmic Collection. This is the digital version. It's available on the North American eShop. This edition of the game costs $45. There's no discounts, there's no sales. Probably never will be. And then, as I said, we'll take a short break and then we'll cover the Darius Cozmic Collection console version, which includes more games, but they're the console versions, which were probably the versions that more people had access to. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching. I will see you at the next stream.